Okay. So, a little while back, not too long ago, I did a bit of a reaction video to some of Jaden Animations animation. Um, the episode that she and her team did about her obsession with Hatsune Miku, and I just talked about some of the many things I like about Jaden Animation's work, and the stuff that they put and all the good animation craft that's actually on display in those videos. And Jaden herself turned up in my comment section along with a couple of the animators on that thing to sort of say thank you for the nice words. And Jaden teased that I might like the next video that they were working on, and so it's like, oh, okay, I'll keep an eye out for that. I was just sitting here, sort of like, okay, is that something? And then I found out I have ADHD. Did you, Jaden? Okay, yes, you're right. That is something I might be interested in. that is something that I might find hashtag relatable a little bit, a lot, maybe, kind of much. So let's react to it. I'll do a little bit of the animation breakdown thing as well, but I think this is, well, no, it's me. I'm probably going to get distracted by a million animation details, but just kind of a straight reaction to see just how how relatable exactly this is going to be. All right, let's see.
Do you ever think to yourself, man, why is it so hard for me to just do the things I need to do? And
yeah, we'll start strong. Yes, I mean, so executive dysfunction it can be a symptom of many things, right? Like, it's not necessarily exclusively an ADHD symptom, but it's very, very characteristic of ADHD, which is this thing of, like, you know exactly what you need to do. You want to do it. Like, you have the I want to get this fucking thing done because I have this job, I have this thing, I have this task that needs to be done, and you sit there and you just kind of like, and it doesn't happen, right? Like, it's you sit there and your attention, like executive dysfunction can be many things. Like, autistic people can have severe executive dysfunction for a number of reasons. Depressed people can have severe executive dysfunction. You can have severe executive dysfunction because of anxiety. Like, there's many reasons why. You can just be really fucking tired, right? But executive dysfunction with ADHD, at least that I've found, is you're there, you know how to do the thing, you want to do the thing, you are ready to do the thing, and it's like you have decided that, no, today is the day that I do the thing. It's been the plan the whole fucking time. And then you sit down, and then it's like, I need to open Premiere Pro to start editing this video. So it's just, and as you try to focus in on the thing that you need to do, that you know you need to do, your attention, and this is the ADHD thing, right? Like, your attention just keeps going. Some part of you keeps going, what about, like, hang on, no, there's another, you should check your phone, like, there's something else, like, you get this intense restlessness as though there's something else I need to do first, right? Like, that's certainly how it is with me. Is I keep sitting there with, like, I need to do this thing, but I have this constant intense feeling that I need to be doing something else, right? Rationally, I want to do this thing. Emotionally, I need to do something else. Something else has to happen. Something else. It can't be this. Something else has to happen. And it's debilitating. But okay, yeah, 6 seconds into the video, and I have already talked for several minutes. Cool.
focus and remember things and manage my time and be organized and remember things and not get sidetracked. Ha! Yeah, me neither. When I was a kid, I was pretty much the picture-perfect depiction of a good student. I was well-organized, always turned in my work on time, got good grades. I even did my homework on Fridays instead of procrastinating until Sunday night. Sure, I didn't like studying and found it hard to focus during it, but who didn't? Saying all those qualities put together, that doesn't sound like the brain of someone with any kind of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, does it?
God, yeah, no, I'm relating here as well, because I was also a good student. But the trouble is, I was a good student because, well, for the same reason that I'm a half-decent YouTuber, which is that I'm good at talking. I am good at picking up on things quickly. I'm good at cramming. And I'm good at seeming like I know more than I do, right? Like, I'm good at speaking with confidence and authority. And if someone points out, oh, you made a mistake, well, it's just pivoting, right? Rather than freezing up and going, oh shit, I don't know what, like pivoting and just like incorporating whatever they said and like trying to. So I'm really good at bullshitting my way through exams, right? Like, and so when I look back at my report cards from school, it's like when I had a good teacher who could engage me, who could make learning fun and interesting. I got straight A's in fucking everything. Like, easy, no problem. Like, the moment I was engaged by a good teacher who like knew how to make me find the subject at least stimulating, boom, like, easy straight A's. The moment I had a bad teacher, well, not a bad teacher, not even a bad teacher, there's nothing wrong with the teachers, but a teacher who didn't know how to do that, who didn't know how to like set me off running, because like I had a math teacher in elementary school, I think the equivalent of elementary school, who was really fucking good at getting me going with math, because he presented it to me as puzzles to be solved, and he's like, here's the pieces, here's how, like, can you put this thing together, can you do it, like, let me see if you can do it. And I just, a puzzle, a challenge, holy fuck shit, yeah, give me that shit. And I was just churning through fucking math problems like a motherfucker. I was the best math kid in class. The moment I got up to high school level, I had a math teacher who didn't, like, also because there's 30 students in the class, like, they don't have fucking time to reach every single one of us individually. And we got into, like, not long division, what the fuck's it called? Like the more complicated types of calculation that, like, require a lot of steps and going through it, like, logically puzzling out. And I didn't have that competitive drive. Grades in the crater. Just, like, because, like, it wasn't engaging anymore, right? But I was a good student because I found school engaging. I found learning engaging. I still do. Like, I can still spend hours and hours and hours reading boring ass fucking dry, like, technical literature. Like, I read history books for fun, like academic, not pop history, academic history books for fun, because it's it's something that engages my brain. I love learning the shit and knowing about it and arguing with it in my head, right? And so that academic competence for me is actually an expression of my ADHD, and that's unusual. Something that my psychiatrist told me when I was diagnosed is that it's kind of a miracle that that I hadn't been in contact with the psychiatric system before, right? That I hadn't at some point completely fucking flamed out and gotten so low that I got in contact, like, either I had a severe depression, or because, like, that's the most common thing that they see is people who have, like, even people like me, right, who manage to do well in school at first, but then they get, like, to university level and they absolutely fucking flame out and crash and they burn, and they become so fucking burned out they get severe depression, and that's when they come in contact with the psychiatric system. That's when they get a diagnosis, right? That's, with my level of severity with what I was diagnosed with, they said, like, that's the absolute most common thing. Like, they also see a lot of people who get into, like, substance abuse disorders because they're trying to manage their ADHD and their symptoms. Like, they're trying to stimulate their brains and like keep them under control so they can focus on the boring shit that needs to get done, and it's just not working. And it really is a thing of, like, I did 3 years of history at university, and then right before I was about to turn in my bachelor's, I have a half-written bachelor's still in my Google documents. That's when I had a crash and burn. Like, that's when like some shit in my life happened, and I flamed out, and I just lost the ability. I just could not cram my way through the end of my bachelor in history, so I never turned it in, right? So I did 3 years, had a bachelor's project pretty much done. It would have passed, I'm sure, but I don't have a bachelor's degree in history. And, like, after taking about a year off, I went back and I did a bachelor's degree in English, and that was so fucking easy. That was so fucking easy. It was like nothing, man. Like, nothing. So easy for me, because, again, that discipline of English, like the discipline of, like, literature and like literary studies and the humanities, they align with the expression of my particular ADHD. If I tried studying math, if I tried studying physics, if I tried studying any of, like, the hard STEM sciences, I would have crashed and burned. Abso 100 fucking percent lutely. And, like, if I hadn't lucked into, like, if I hadn't managed to somehow fucking turn a really scrappy, impoverished career as a freelance artist into doing YouTube full time, if I'd had to take a 9-to-5 job, I would have crashed and fucking burned as well. Like, it's pure luck, pure basic luck that I didn't crash out and crash and burn. But relating back to what's actually going on in the video, Jesus Christ, this is going to be a long one. You can be academically successful in school, and still have ADHD, right? Like, ADHD doesn't mean that you suck at school. In fact, sometimes, depending on how it expresses itself, it can mean exactly the opposite, that you actually excel in a lot of academic disciplines because they engage you, which is the thing that the ADHD brain is most thirsty for, is stimulation. It wants to be stimulated, it wants to be engaged, and if school is doing that for you, you're going to be great at it, right up until the moment that you're not.
I was well behaved, didn't feel like I struggled much in school, and didn't cause any trouble. That is, up until I moved out of my parents' house for the first time to go to college.
Yeah.
Gradually, I started slipping. I began skipping classes a bit when I just didn't feel like going, would wait until the last moment to start classwork, and lost a lot of motivation because I wasn't interested in any of my schoolwork. But overall, even though it was pretty out of character for me, I chalked it all up to the fact I was simply over going to school. At the same time, my YouTube was really kicking off, and all I wanted to do was that. Of course I wasn't gonna be as good of a student when the silly YouTube videos were doing numbers.
Yeah, oh god. Yeah, fuck me. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I relate to this, like, more specifically than I thought I would. Holy shit. Because, like, that's the thing that, like, when I did history at university, I was great in class. Absolutely. Terrible at doing my homework. Like, I would cram my homework, like, basically the morning, before, like the evening and morning before class. That's like cram all my homework. I'd skim things. I'd take a few notes, like just whatever the fuck I need to know in order to be able to keep up in the conversation. And then I go, and like all of my coursework, like all of my papers, all of my everything, it was like last minute submissions every single time, last second, like the last 10 minutes before the submission deadline on the website. That's when I write the final shit down, like just quickly proofread and just send it. Like, never read through any of my papers twice, because the only thing that could get me motivated to actually write and finish a paper is last minute panic, right? I could not plan ahead. I was simply incapable of doing it, and I skipped a lot of classes as well. Like, God, yeah. And again, like I said, if I hadn't, I was planning to do a master's, right? And if YouTube hadn't sort of started paying a little bit of money on like the Patreon and shit like that, I probably would have tried to go for the master's, and I probably would have flamed the fuck out, because there comes a point when you can't bullshit your way through it anymore. You do have to, like, you can't cram a master's last minute the night before, the same way that you can sometimes get away with a bachelor in the humanities. So, like, yeah, no, holy fuck, that's a very similar story you got there, Jaden.
Finished a single year of college and convinced my parents to let me take a gap year to see where this YouTube thing can take me. Spoiler alert, the gap year turned into me never going back. I'm a college dropout. So great, I've eliminated the boring school part of my life that weighs me down. Now I can go back to being organized with my new exciting passion job, which entails being my own boss and having to manage and assign myself all of my own responsibilities 24/7.
Yeah.
Why are the voices not getting quieter? It's almost like everything was going backwards. I was having a much harder time staying organized and focused. If I didn't want to do a certain type of work, I would have to shackle myself down in basically an isolation chamber to be able to get it done. If I found a new interest, it was all I could think about. And why is it so easy to suddenly be on your roof watching a YouTube video on how to know when you need new shingles? I really didn't get it.
Yeah, oh, Jesus. That's the, like, shackling yourself. That was one of my coping mechanisms. When I needed something to get done, I would literally, like, unplug my modem from the wall so I wouldn't have access to internet. I have had periods of my life where I have just uninstalled every single game from my computer and my phone and from everything. Like, so there are no video games. Like, you cannot play a video game in this house right now. You have to, so, like, basically reducing the number of possible options until the only remotely stimulating activity you have left is the thing that needs to get done, right? Like laundry or your fucking dishes or, you know, doing your taxes, like Jaden alludes to. I used to do that a fucking lot. I still do it sometimes. Like sometimes it's like that's just like a good way to get anything done, but oh boy. Oh fuck me. Jesus.
me had it held together more than current me. What went wrong? I could look back and recognize how everything used to be so perfect and easy. Look at tiny Jaiden and all her ducks in that row. I used to color code every single binder I owned, and now I don't even know where I placed the $20 I literally just had in my hand 3 minutes ago. I haven't even left the room. Genuinely, where could it fucking go? Despite
Also, what she's describing here sounds a bit like neurodivergent skill regression, which is a thing that, like, that's a thing that can happen to neurodivergent people of all kinds as they grow up, is that thing exactly she describes. Like, this used to be something I could do. This used to be something that was easy. It happens a lot with, like, I know for... like a number of people I know have described that, like, when they were kids, they used to just love reading. Like, they could read they could read 10 books a week. They could just chow through those goddamn things. But now that they're adults, they sit down and it's like, I cannot pull myself through 10 pages of any fucking thing. I just don't have it. Like, why have I lost the ability? Why have I lost the ability to do this reading? And it is a thing of, like, as you grow up, as your brain matures, as you become more and more exhausted by having to mask and having to fit in and having to like adjust yourself to function in society, those stresses, they build up and they start taking away your ability to do things. Your ability to get anything done starts being taken away from you because your brain just doesn't have the juice that it used to do. Because especially as you become an adult, you have more and more responsibilities, you have more and more worries, more and more stresses that you need to worry about. And that can literally manifest in becoming increasingly incompetent as you get older, which is fucking terrifying. Also, I did want to comment on the animation of the video. I just got distracted by the relatability. And like, I don't know that I have anything to say about like Jaiden's work that I didn't see in the previous video, like Jaiden and her team. Like, the lip syncing is forever just a fucking impressive part of Jaiden animation videos, but the visual storytelling here is also really good.
be organized and remember things and not get sidetracked.
I like that, like the little thing of like writing it on your hand, and then also remember taxes, specifically taxes, because like I've done that with list writing. I've written down like, remember to do the thing today, and then like 2 hours later I look at the list and I was like, what the fuck is the thing? I don't remember what the thing is. What's the thing? Why did I write down do the thing? What thing? I can't remember anything. I don't know, just throw it out. And then 9 hours later it's like, oh fuck, I forgot to do the thing.
Things and not get sidetracked. Ha!
Ooh, hang on. Wait, did I see a little bit? Just a little itty bitty tiny little bit. Yes, I did. Oh, nice. So the door bulges inwards. Then we get this. Like, you see how the line weight and like the foot is sort of bulging and inflated, and then it stretches back down as we come down. Classic cartooning. That's lovely.
Ha! Yeah, me neither. When I was a kid, I was pretty much the picture perfect.
That's a nice transition too, isn't it? Like that. Like, again, from a storytelling
Depiction.
perspective, right? Of like, she holds up a picture of herself when she was a kid, and then like we zoom directly into that in order to transition into like the flashback. I did that to my German teacher in school once, where like it was the end of class, she assigned a bunch of homework. It was like these little handouts, like you complete the phrases and translate the things and like write in the proper grammar and shit like that. And then there was like 10-15 minutes while she was like taking questions, like, what are we gonna do tomorrow? What's your scheduling like? And then class was over, and then at the end of class I walked up, hey, I'm done. I just yeah, I finished it. Like, there you go. I just finished it like the 15 minutes while she was talking and like sort of doing wrap up things and like talking about scheduling and stuff. I just finished the homework because, again, it was engaging to me. Like, at that point, it was engaging to me, and I enjoyed doing it. I got a excitement out of figuring out the puzzle of how to do German grammar correctly. So I just filled in the damn thing, and I just handed it, like, there, I'm done. And she looked at me like I was a crazy person. I was like, what the fuck do you mean? What? Like, she didn't swear at me, but like, what? No, what? You did that while I was, yeah, like, does it look right? And she sort of glanced over it and looked over. It's like, oh yeah, no, that one was wrong, but the rest of them are correct. It's like, oh, cool. I guess I don't have any homework then. And I went home. Oh man, the look she gave me was fucking priceless. That stopped happening after elementary school. I don't know. By the way, I should say, we don't have grade school, elementary school, high school here where I live in the same way that Americans do. I'm just using those terms because most of the people watching me are probably Americans. We have something called folkeskole, which is public school, I guess would be the translation, and that goes from like your age 5, 6 until you're 16, 17, like about 10 years, and then gymnasia, which is sort of the equivalent of high school, which is like from like 16 to 19 ish, and then university, which is college level.
And lost a lot of motivation because I wasn't interested in any of my schoolwork. But overall, even though
that's charming, like looking back at yourself and cringing thing, right? Like, and that comes from the body language as well. Like that slight cringe of like, oh man, shit, what was I doing? What the hell was I even doing back then? Like, that comes from the body language as she's talking. Like, that's one thing that like I really am consistently impressed by with like Jaiden animations, like the clarity of the visual storytelling of like the visuals that she chooses to use, right? Or that the team chooses to use. Because like I do occasional little bits of sort of puppeteered animation with my little avatar guy in the videos on my main channel, right? And mostly I use that for B-roll, right? Like I use my character animating, moving, doing something, talking. That's B-roll, which I use while I don't really have a good visual to put in the background of my video otherwise, right? Like I don't have a picture to put on screen. I don't have like animation to play or whatever. It's like we'll just use this as a transitional thing to deliver something that I'm saying, but like I don't have a particularly good background visual for it. Let's put something more visually engaging in there, right? And that's how I use like the animation of my little avatar when I do it. Jaiden Animations doesn't really do that. Like the videos here don't rely on external media in the same way, right? Like she'll put JPEGs in there sometimes, but like for the most part, this is all like self-created, like background and illustrative storytelling work that sort of has to match what's being delivered, right? So you have this conversational confessional delivery storytelling style, right? Like that needs to be backed up by a visual that both presents the character who's talking on screen, like in some way, in moments like this, but then also something that's illustrative of like not just the literal action that's happening, but the mood, the theme of what's happening, right? Like stuff like that is just like it's a really elegant solution to that problem. And I really do like the idea of like again similar here, like where it's like studying, oh well, that's banging my head into a wall, right? Like that's smacking my head into a desk and achieving nothing. But YouTube, well, YouTube wants to have a party. Look, it's got a little party hat, it's waving, it's got the fucking champagne thing. It's like, oh, lots of subscribers. It's just effective visual storytelling to sort of indicate the emotional state that she's describing, right? Like where schoolwork is this misery that's going nowhere, but here's the party, here's the fun stuff. Here's like the gold, the rewards, the good times. It's like it's just effective storytelling. And like well chosen visuals as well, because like the visuals that she chooses, they do have to have a certain simplicity to them, right? Like they do have to be something that sort of fits within the visual aesthetic of a Jaiden video, right? Like which precludes you from doing like certain things. Especially also, it also has a production budget, right? Like these are Jaiden Animations videos. They are not fully produced like feature films by Disney or whatever. So like every time, like this is something that they're gonna have to be handling in the storyboarding phase. Like they have to handle like how long is it gonna take us to make a shot that is this complicated, that has this many like camera changes, that has this many like characters moving in it, that has this many like background features. Like how long is that shot gonna take us? How much money is that gonna cost relative to when do we want this video to be out? Especially if she's working against like a deadline with a sponsor or something like that. Or just working like around like trying to have like a reasonable content plan for her channel. It's like you make those calculations of like what kinds of shots can we put in here? Like what is their time to do? What is it reasonable to do? Like what is it worth it to do, right? Because like you could spend 9 hours animating the most complicated shot in existence, but if all the shot is actually supposed to do is just like bridge the connection from one point to another, but it itself doesn't really deliver any of the narrative, it doesn't really deliver any of the themes of the point, then like why spend 9 hours animating that one really complicated shot? Spend it instead on something that's more like key to the
backwards.
thing.
I was having a much
Like for example, this fucking visual, which like immediately upon seeing it, my assumption is that this is 3D. Right, because that's the easiest way to do something like this. Would be to like have a 3-dimensional object, render it with some nice shaders and stuff like that. But looking at it, no, this thing like I mean, it could be rotoscoped over some 3D, but this looks to me like that was a fucking hand animated Rubik's cube, which is. That's just really cool. Like, this is something I don't know that a layperson necessarily finds this particularly impressive as animation, but I do, because especially when you're doing hand animation, manipulating a rigid, stiff object that's made of nothing but straight lines can be kind of a nightmare to make look appealing. So, like, this is I genuinely like props to the animators who handle this. Like, I don't know if you rotoscoped over an animated 3D Rubik's Cube. I would have, but that's really effective. And I also do like again, visual storytelling, right?
It's almost like everything was going backwards. I was having
right. We have this Rubik's Cube which is solved, which is perfect, which is like well done.
a much harder time staying organized.
It gets mixed up and mixed up and mixed up as time goes on. Like she goes, because again, the theme of what's being said is she goes from a state of having shit under control to a state of not having shit under control, which like, that's a really effective visual for that. That's a really effective visual for that. That's like a really good way to illustrate that point. And that's like the consistent thing about Jaiden videos is like they clearly put a lot of thought and effort into thinking about these visualizations, thinking about like the references and like the ways that they communicate the ideas that they're doing. Like here we're doing the Charlie Day, like Pepe Silva meme, right? Because like this is her sort of ranting and raving about like something happened, something weird, like there's been some kind of conspiracy that's like taken away my ability to have my ducks in a row kind of thing. Like what she's like, yeah, like good. I really fucking like that Rubik's Cube, though. Like, props to whoever came up with the Rubik's Cube, because that's brilliant. That's a brilliant little visualization. Anyway.
Look back and recognize how everything used to be so perfect and easy. Look at tiny Jaiden and all her ducks in that row. I used to color code every single binder I owned, and now I don't even know where I placed the $20 I literally just had in my hand 3 minutes ago. I haven't even left the room. Genuinely, where could it fucking go? Despite feeling like I was downward spiraling for multiple years, I never suspected it could be something related to a genetic neurodevelopmental disorder. I just thought I wasn't trying hard enough and being lazy, or applying myself like I used to.
yeah. yeah. That is the universal ADHD experience almost, is like that thing of like, I just need to try harder, right? Like it's like, yeah, but like, because you know that, like, again, it's that thing of you sit down, you know what to do, you know how to do it, you know like the steps that need to be done, you want to do it, and yet for some reason it just does not fucking happen. Like your brain just does not fucking do it. And that feels so much like, okay, this is because I need to spend more willpower on this, right? Like this is because I need to grit my teeth and like push through it harder, right? And the problem is that works. That's the big problem, is that works, actually. You can spend willpower, grit your teeth, push through it, like really just fucking buckle down and get the thing. You can do it. Until you can't anymore, right? Like that's the thing, is like that strategy works, and it can work for a long ass fucking time, like depending on who you are and what situation you're in, like and the surrounding circumstances of your life. Just knuckling down and just fucking need to pull myself together and do the thing. That can work. You can sort of like, you can drag yourself through the shit, kicking and screaming, like just white knuckling your ass through that shit on Red Bull and sheer determination and willpower. You can do that, right up until you can't anymore. Right up until something in your brain goes, nope, that we're out of neurotransmitters now. That was it. Like, you spent your last bit of like guts and willpower and grind set mentality. You spent it. It's gone now. And here's a recharge timer for how long it's going to take you to refill it. 4 billion years. Never going to happen, right? And then all of a sudden you can't anymore. And that's when you crash and burn, right? That's the problem, is like, it works. It's a strategy that works. So you feel so much like, okay, it's just because I need to try harder, because every single time in the past that I've just knuckled down and really fucking pushed myself and tried harder, it has worked. So it's gonna work this time as well. And there's nothing, it's the only reason why it's not working is because I am ontologically a bad person, right?
Oh, the woes of turning into an adult, I suppose. Maybe the best years of your life truly are in high school.
A self-funeral. Again, very good.
How upsetting. I didn't even enjoy those either. But then one day I got a text from my brother. I got diagnosed with ADHD. It was a pretty big surprise for me because growing up, he never really seemed to show any of the typical symptoms you associate with ADHD. You know, people would always describe ADHD to me as super hyper kids who would run around the room and scream and generally be a lot. That was...
Yeah, and that can be the expression of ADHD. It depends a lot on the person, right? ADHD can express itself in that way. Like, and it tends to express itself different along gendered lines as well, because the world responds differently to ADHD symptoms in girls and boys, right? Boys are sort of expected to be rambunctious to a certain extent. Like, oh yeah, boys will be boys. They're running around, they're throwing things, they're screaming, they're laughing, they're making loud noises. Yeah, boys do that. That's what boys do. But girls are not supposed to do that as much. They're supposed to be more quiet. They're supposed to be sitting still. They're supposed to be more mature. They're supposed to be like, so there's this different set of expectations, gendered expectations. And so the kid with ADHD will adjust to those expectations, right? And mask or learn coping mechanisms that help them handle their ADHD that fits with the social expectations that are being imposed on them, right? Like, because like if you get disproportionately punished as a girl for being loud and rambunctious or not sitting still or not concentrating, well, you're going to find a million ways to seem like you're sitting still and seem like you're concentrating while you're actually doing other shit. Like, I used to, in class, draw. Like, that's part of the reason why I became an artist in the first place, because when class was really fucking boring and I just could not fucking keep my attention on it, and I knew that I wasn't supposed to be getting up and walking around, which was the only thing I fucking wanted to do. Fine. I can pour my obsession, my interest, my energy into drawing. I can doodle in my fucking notebook. I can play with my pen and my eraser between my fingers in a way that's quiet and doesn't disturb the class, but I can get, like, I found a million little ways to get the energy out that didn't involve getting up, walking around, running, being loud, being disruptive, right? But that's not the case for every ADHD kid. Some ADHD kids, they don't find those outlets, or those outlets are not enough for them to handle, like, the issue that they have in their minds, right? And for some ADHD kids, like, it will express itself in like running around and screaming and being unable to sit still and like being disruptive, because like ADHD is never the only thing that's going on with a kid, right? Like, part of the reason why I found a lot of quiet ways to sort of mask my ADHD and sort of fit in and not seem disruptive was it's because of like the relationship that I have with my family and like the way that I've sort of emotionally conceptualized myself in the past relative to, like, it's a lot of complicated factors of like other emotional issues and other like concerns and like the relationship I have with my parents and the way that I was raised. And like there was a kid in my class who I, looking back on it now, heavily suspect had some form of ADHD as well. And he did not, like, he was disruptive. He was the class clown type, right? Like, he was the one who, like, always shouting, always making fart noises, always like being a problem, who always needed, like, the teachers needed to spend a lot more time managing him. And he had a very different home life situation from me as well. Like, a home life situation where, like, yeah, no, like there was drugs and alcohol and probably abuse in that home is what I've learned since I've grown up and I've sort of heard what the situation was like. Like, he had a very chaotic, very, very unstable home life. And it's like, yeah, no wonder no wonder that he had more trouble regulating himself, that he had more trouble handling his emotions, handling his ADHD than I did, because I had a very stable home life. I had like extremely supportive parents. I had so many resources and like so much help, both emotionally and physically at my disposal. So like, of course, I was more able to cope with my ADHD than he was, because I just had better material conditions in which to do that. So ADHD can express itself extremely differently in different people at different times in their lives.
Wasn't my brother. He was quiet and well behaved like I was. But when he started explaining his symptoms, the gears started turning. Yeah, I've always struggled a lot with focusing in school and having things hold my attention when it's boring. But like, I could hyperfixate on things I'm interested in and get really passionate about that stuff. Hearing him talk about his personal symptoms of ADHD made a lot of sense, and I felt very freshly educated on the topic. And you'd think that I would immediately start looking into getting a diagnosis for myself, because if you were paying attention, my brother's experiences all sounded very similar to the same struggles I've been having in my own life, but related to work instead of school. Same struggles I've been having.
Let me just have a look at.
That I would immediately start looking into getting a diagnosis. Very freshly educated on the topic, and you'd think
that was really nice. So here we're doing character acting, right? So like, you would think that I wouldn't be a stupid dum-dum and I would actually start like act on the information I've been given. You would think that. And how is she expressing that? Well, first of all, with like the big sort of, well, you'd think, the big sort of shrug thing and like the pointing of the brain. But then there's that gesture right here, that little like taking the hands down and sort of rotating them around each other, that I'd start putting the pieces together. Oh, I really liked that. That's a really nice little animation gesture. Like that little rotating the pieces like that. I like that. That has a lot of personality. That has a lot of little, like, because this is a thing of like again, sort of comparing to my own limited animation work. When I animate my little avatar, right, there's only so much I can do, because I have a floating head that's very, very flat and a body that's very, very flat, and I basically have cutouts of various hand expressions, like various hand positions that I can just sort of move around, right? Like, and that leads to animation that is hyper flat in its expression, right? Like I can't really do foreshortening, I can't really do perspective. There's a very hard limitation to the kinds of things that I can do. And that's a fairly common thing in reasonably low budget animation, is that you get animation that tends to be very hyper flat, that tends to be like mostly focused around a series of key poses, right? Like it's keyframes more than it's in-betweens. In that kind of animation, usually, because again, keyframe animation is like just doing the keyframes with a minimal number of in-betweens is like, that's budget friendly, and that's the kind of thing an individual person can achieve on an individual person budget. But Jaiden has a team, and she has a little bit more of a budget going on, so we get this lovely bit of just, what is that? Is that animated on like
very freshly educated on the topic, and you'd think
that little. Because, like, that's 1, 2, 4, 5, 4, 4, 2, 3, 4, 4. Yeah, like differential animation timing. I'm just counting frames. Don't mind me. But like this, you see the foreshortening, right? Like the foreshortening of like having like the volume of the arm pass in front of itself, and using that to create like a 3D space in front of this very flat character that the hands can rotate around. Like, because that is a shift, right? Like, because like a lot of the animation of like Jaiden talking a lot of the time, it is very flat. Like, it is very keyframed in many places, which is good. Like, that's a good part of the expression. But here, like, oh, we get that little extra three-dimensionality, little extra depth to the character, just to like to do that little. I really like that gesture. That's really good.
Immediately start looking into getting a diagnosis for myself, because if you were paying attention.
I also really like that little swoop there. Hang on.
Because if you.
Right, so we lead in with like the little whoop, and then quick snap over, and then like the little white anime glint as we like ease into position. That's a really appealing key pose there as well. I really like that. That's a really nice key pose. Like, that's like that should be an icon, right? Like, that feels a lot like that should be someone's social media icon. That's a really appealing key pose. I like that.
paying attention, my brother's experiences all sounded very similar to the same struggles I've been having in my own life, but related to work instead of school, because I dropped out. But nope, I was just like, good for you, bro, happy for you. Or I'm sorry, I don't know. Anyway, back to struggling to simply open up my drawing program as if 2 blocks of iron were welded to my wrists.
Yeah. Also that, like, listen, I have friends with ADHD. For a while, I got really interested. Sort of like I had a passing fixation on like ADHD, autism, neurodivergence, like because I was really fascinated. Like, oh shit, like the differences in how the brain processes information. That's fascinating. And I was reading through, and I was seeing all the normal symptoms of ADHD. Right? Like I'd heard it from friends, like friends who like, oh yeah, we're simpatico. We're on the same wavelength. You and I were very similar people. Oh, you have ADHD? That's fascinating, dude. Wow, how did you get that? I should research that on Wikipedia. Never making the fucking connection. Right, like never sort of like, hey, that sounds very similar to what I'm going through. Well, I'm sure that's just a coincidence. Now, time to read this long article of symptoms that I have and not figure it out. It took me so long because again, I was stuck in that mode of like, oh, no, because with my problem, other people, that's ADHD, right? They might have a neurological condition that makes things hard for them. Me, it's hard because I'm a piece of shit. It's because I suck. It's because I am bad at being an adult, and I am like morally inferior. I have no backbone. I am not strong enough, and it's a moral failing, and it's a moral problem, and I need to punish myself for my moral failings. Until the problem goes away, right? Like I need to crunch my way through it even more because the rules are different for me. I don't have ADHD. I just have being a bad person problem. God, yeah.
Imbalance of brain chemicals? Nah, this just happens from time to time. It's normal. Just laziness kicking in.
Yeah.
I hate Mondays, am I right? Even though I didn't instantly think there was a possibility of me also having ADHD, the mental seed was planted. It's just
another lovely bit of...
Am I right? Even though
I like that, like the self-examination thing. Self-examination is a difficult thing to animate as such. Like, the only way to do it is with a mirror, right? Like, there really isn't any other way to do it.
Didn't instantly think there was a possibility of me also having...
And it's like, the acting is exaggerated, but it's still like, it's that thing of like, leaning in, seeing the signs and symptoms, and then going, that's kind of cringe, it's probably,
Also having ADHD,
that's
the
good
mental
acting.
seed was planted. It's genetic, so I knew subconsciously it ran in the bloodline. It took a few years after my brother was diagnosed.
By the way, also, after I got diagnosed, my mother, for the diagnosis conversation, like there's a sort of a long, extensive screening process you go through with like a psychologist who sort of like asks you a bunch of questions about like how have these symptoms manifested in your life, like what have you gone through, like a lot of standardized questionnaires, but a lot of the questions have to do with my childhood, right? Like how does this manifest in childhood? And I have ADHD, so my memory is bad. So one of the things they recommend is that you bring a parent to those conversations so they can kind of fill in the gaps and say, no, yeah, like he did this and he did that. He seemed to struggle with this and that thing. And my mom came with me to those conversations, right? And after the conversation, she was like, oh, that sounds awfully familiar. And after I got diagnosed, it was like, my mom has basically concluded that she has ADHD as well, although she's not at the moment planning to seek a diagnosis as far as I know. And I am 100 million% convinced that my sister has it too. My God, like, yes, no, like, yes, if you're watching this, you know, Frankie, I am convinced. I see it in you. Go get the I know you can't. It's expensive. I had to get it private. There's a public health system. You can get referred by a doctor. You can, again, it's all free through like the national health system. But also, if you get referred by a doctor for a referral for a clinic like that, you have to wait like 54 weeks or 34 weeks, like depending on where you live in the country, right? But the wait times are absolutely fucking insane on anything like that's not considered like life-threatening or like anything that's considered non-critical, like an ADHD diagnosis. So I had to go and get it done privately because I have ADHD. I cannot fucking wait. And that was expensive. So they're like that's a structural barrier in this country to getting a diagnosis. It's just that the National Psychiatric Services are and have been for decades chronically underfunded, like really terribly chronically underfunded, and there's a lot of complicated reasons for that. But yeah, that fucking sucks. It became a thing in the election campaigns recently. A lot of promises were made. I don't really anticipate anything changing because like there's so much fucking stigma against psychiatry and against like needing psychological help and therapy in this country, and it's really hard to fucking break through, and like all of the money gets siphoned away because like we had like 2 decades of a fucking liberal ass privatization obsessed shit ass garbage government. And liberals, by the way, where I live, liberals are the right wingers. That's because I live in a normal country. Who like have systemically just defunded and like broken apart all of the like the public systems in this country and tried to privatize them as much as fucking possible. And now we're in a big health crisis, and we're in a big like the psychiatric parts of the national health system are shredded. We have a massive shortage of nurses because the wages are shit, and the working conditions are shit because the wages are shit. So no one wants so not a lot of people want to be nurses, which means that the few nurses we have absolutely enormously disproportional work burdens, which fucking burns them out, so they quit the profession or leave the public health system to go into the private health system where the conditions are much better, because that's what the liberals wanted. Like that's what they've been doing, is they've been trying to shred the competence and the strength of the workplace in the public health sector so that the private health sector has an easier time out competing them, so that they don't have to offer as competitive wages. They don't have to offer as good working conditions as they would have to if they were competing with a functional public health system. They can just compete with a public health system that is in tatters and shattered, which is easy to outcompete, so that they don't have to worry about having to pay better wages. Like, I get mad. It's a whole fucking thing. Anyway, moving on.
For me to really sit down with myself and consider that I, too, could have ADHD. Shocking revelation, I know. Foreshadowing, where did you come from? Things in the focus and productivity department were just getting worse and worse.
Yeah.
I had the attention span of a cartoon dog, would completely forget things as soon as they entered my head,
Yeah.
would hyperfixate on...
Oh, fuck me. I cannot tell you how many times I've lost my fucking tablet pen. Fuck me. And I try to be so careful. I have rituals, like I pick up the tablet pen, and when I put it down, I'm looking at it, I'm putting it down on the table here, and then like I tap it with my finger a couple of times. This is where it is, and that usually works. But then sometimes it's like 2 minutes pass. Like I walk out of the room to get a snack, and I come back, and it's like, the fuck did I put my tablet pen? I had it where did I put it? Did I touch it with my finger? I can't remember if I touched it. It just vanishes. It's just fucking gone. It's like just elves. Fucking. Oh my god.
Random stuff like an addict, and there was constant civil war happening inside my head to get one thing done, even though I knew it would only take like 15 minutes. You don't understand. It feels like physical torture to make myself sit down and lip sync a simple scene, like most of the time. You know, the thing I've been doing for 10 years at this point and am definitely used to doing. And yeah, once I've gotten going, then I'm honed in, and you have to...
Yeah, that's the other thing, is like once you get into it, once you crowbar your brain into the space. I have this with my fucking videos so often. I have a video right now that I'm working on, which is like, all that needs to happen right now is I need to write the outro monologues, like the last analysis segment, and I need to and this is the easiest part of the editing process, by far the easiest part, because I don't have to do a lot of complicated cuts. I just have to like put illustrative footage and images on the screen to sort of match the points that I'm making in my voiceover. It's easy. It's the easiest part of the edit. It's so, like, it doesn't even take that long. I can get this done in half an hour. I know it. You want to guess how long it's taken me to get it done so far? I am on 9 days and counting. I do have my medication now, which makes things a lot easier. And part of the reason why it's taken 9 days is because I've also had a lot of other shit to deal with. But it's like I would have these things of like videos that were like 90% done. The last 10% was the easiest percent. Like the easiest shit. Just like Shit I've done a million times before. I know I can do it. I know it doesn't take 5 minutes. Like, it doesn't even take me fucking 5 minutes to get it done. But it's like, but that I can't open Premiere Pro. I cannot physically do it. And if I manage to force myself with dragging the mouse down to the icon and I click on Premiere Pro and I open it, I'm looking at it. I'm like, I need to just fucking make the cut in the footage. Just get the. Oh no, I'm on Twitter now. Okay, I've opened Twitter. I used to be Twitter, and now it's Blue Sky. And maybe I should check my Tumblr. Hey, is there any new comments on my videos? Ooh, I haven't checked Instagram in a while. I never use it, but hey, who knows? Maybe something could have happened over there. TikTok. Let's check TikTok.
Pry me away from it with a crowbar. I'm aware of that part. But nah, I'm still gonna scrap with myself to plant my ass in that chair because I don't even know why at this point. The biggest thing holding me back from feeling like I had ADHD has always been the simple memory of being in school and having my shit together. I know what it feels like to be on top of things and to be organized. I had it all in the palm of my little child hand. I just needed to summon it again with a bit more effort. But a light switched off in my brain and suddenly I'm just not capable of the things I used to be. And it feels pathetic. Simple tasks are such a mental burden. It feels like I'm out of control.
I see you.
Burden.
Hey, storyboarder, good job. You all are doing a good job. You're picking good shots. Oh, that's nice. A little self-insert. That's lovely.
And it feels like I'm out of control, but can't do anything about it. So finally, I figured I would try and get myself diagnosed. What did I have to lose? If anything, they just tell me, no, you don't have ADHD. Try a little harder and stop complaining.
I had that assumption. That was... So one of the things about, like, with ADHD and ADHD medication, right, is that they take your blood pressure to sort of make sure that, like, because ADHD medications can increase your blood pressure, and that can be, like, that can lead to bad things if your blood pressure gets too high. And I the first time they did that with me, my blood pressure was so high. It was so high. It was too high. It was higher than it's supposed to be. And it was because I was so fucking stressed out. I felt like such a fraud in there sitting there. I was just waiting for them to say, no, you don't have ADHD. You just need to try harder. You stupid fucking moron. Get out of my fucking office. I was waiting for that to happen the whole time, and I was so tense, and I was so fucking stressed about it that my blood pressure was through the fucking roof. And they were like, my God, is this your blood pressure all the time? Are you on some kind of medication for that? I couldn't get myself to explain to them, no, it's because I'm scared out of my goddamn mind. And so, like, I had to go and book an appointment with my regular doctor. I took my blood pressure at home. It was fine, but it's like just going to the psychiatrist's office to discuss my ADHD was because I was so sure that at some point they were going to say, nah, you don't have it. We're not going to give you medicine. We're not going to give you any help because, like, really, honestly, you just need to try harder. My guy. They've never said that. The only thing they've ever said is, like, it's a fucking miracle we haven't seen you earlier. The only thing they've said is, like, it's very impressive that you've managed to put together, like, something approaching a career, given that you have this thing weighing you down. Because it is a thing of, like, people with ADHD, especially undiagnosed, like, it's almost exclusively undiagnosed ADHD. People with ADHD have such a higher tendency to poverty, such a higher tendency to depression, such a higher tendency to anxiety, such a higher tendency to substance abuse, such a higher tendency to basically any social problem you can think of. ADHD people are more vulnerable to it. Gambling addictions are really fucking common in people with ADHD. And it's just it just, to me, seems like it's all just people trying desperately to manage their ADHD symptoms by any other means than, actual treatment. Certainly, that's what I used to do. I have a bad relationship with food. Right? We say, oh yeah, because you're fat. Oh yeah, get your yucks out right now, and so I can ban you in the comments. But yeah, like, I am fat, and part of the reason why I'm fat is because one of the things that my brain found, one of the coping mechanisms that I discovered, as many ADHD people have done before me, is that one of the ways that I can get my brain the dopamine that it craves, because ADHD is fundamentally in many ways like a dopamine deficiency or a dysregulation of dopamine. One of the ways that I could get the dopamine that I needed into my brain is with junk food. Junk food would do it, right? Or just a big fucking meal would do it. And after I'd had that food, I'd have like an hour, a couple of hours where I just felt, oh my God, right? Where it's just like I could feel myself unclenching and relaxing for just a second, and I could feel my brain slowing down, and that's when I could get work done, right? Like if I had like a big fucking bag of like candy or whatever, or a pizza, or like whatever the fuck it was, then my brain would satiate enough with dopamine that I could force myself to do the things, right? So it became a crutch. It became this thing of like, whenever I needed to get something done, whenever I was stressed about anything and I needed a little more like capacity in order to deal with things, my brain turned to food, right? My brain learned that there is a connection between eating food and getting the dopamine that you're constantly craving. And that, I don't know how to explain to you how incredibly difficult it is to deal with a craving like that, because because it's not just, oh, I'm gonna eat a bunch of junk food and feel shitty about myself. No. I'm gonna eat a bunch of junk food, and then I'm gonna be able to pay these bills, and then I'm gonna be able to finish this project, then I'm gonna be able to do some work on this thing, then I'm gonna be able to clean my apartment, then I'm gonna be able to do the dishes, then I'm gonna be able to maybe do the laundry, change my fucking bed sheets. Like, I don't know how to explain to you how hard it is to resist developing really, really fucking bad food habits when eating the food makes you capable of doing basic tasks, right? And that's one of the things I found on the medication now, is because my brain is satiated properly with dopamine, more or less, by the medication, I don't have food cravings. I just, basically from like 1 week to another, I just cut sugar out of my diet. It's just gone. I don't want it. I don't want to eat it. I don't want to eat pizza. I don't want to eat junk food. I don't want to like stuff myself full of junk food, because I don't need it. My brain doesn't have the craving anymore, and it's just gone, like it was never there. I just have lost interest in all of the junk food that I used to rely on to get me through my day. And it's like, it was always scary. Like, I kind of had a moment of being a little bit afraid of that. It's like, holy shit, like, is the medicine turning me into a zombie? Have I lost my taste for the finer things in life? Have I lost my ability to feel joy? And they're like, no. So I still can eat junk food. Like I can still eat pizza. I can still eat sugary things like that. And they're delicious. They're tasty. I do want to eat them. They're nice, but I don't crave them. I don't feel the need. I don't feel this thing of like, God, I just need a little bit of that fucking sugar so I can get through the day. That almost addiction thing. It wasn't really an addiction, but like it had a little bit of that character, right? Like this thing of like, I just need a hit. I just need like a little bit of that, and then I can get through my day. That's just gone. That's just vanished. And as I have learned in the time since getting my diagnosis, that's also really common for ADHD people. ADHD people have enormous struggles with food. Like, again, it depends on the person. People manifest this shit differently. It's not universal, but a lot of ADHD people have trouble with binge eating, have trouble with controlling their portion sizes, have trouble with like even like meal planning or managing their intake of food. And in some people, in part because they're using it as a self-medication thing. What was the point we started with? Where did we? How did we get to that point from here? Hang on. Oh, right, because of I feel like a fraud and I don't really have ADHD. Right, that's where we started from. How do we get to the other point? I don't know. You tell me in the comments. Medication doesn't cure ADHD, by the way. It just helps you manage it.
Stop complaining. And yes, of course it took me like 8 months after deciding to get diagnosed to schedule the actual appointment. What did you expect? That's like the first checkmark box on the ADHD list. I started seeing a psychologist and he would ask the typical, do you have a hard time focusing? And I'd go, yeah, like this one time yesterday, and then he writes something down as I continue rambling on this hyper-specific example way too long for a neurotypical person. I met with him for a few weeks, and then it came down to diagnosis day. The nerves, man. I was so ready for him to say I'm a normal.
Oh, God. No, yeah, I know. Fuck, I know. Oh, hey. Gendo Ikari. I know. God, fuck, I know it.
normal person who needs to suck it up.
Yeah, no. I was so ready for it. I thought that's what they were going to tell me. I thought I was faking it.
Instead, he was like, okay, so yeah, you definitely exhibit symptoms of someone with the inattentive type of ADHD. And autism. Yippee! My struggles are justified. I'm not crazy. Wait, what was that last part? He explained all the different ways ADHD affects me and the different areas I struggle with compared to others. He even gave me a 37-page document of his conclusions and information on how my brain works, with graphs and pictures. I've read through it all a bunch of times now, and it's already really helped me understand how I tick. I call them the autism docs, but I'm not gonna get into that side of the diagnosis. Let's just
Okay, yeah, ADHD and autism, right. So ADHD and autism have a lot of overlap, right? They are not the same thing, and they don't necessarily go together, but it's very, very, very common. It's very, very, very normal for ADHD to go together. According to my psychiatrist, I exhibit what they call like autism traits, but I don't exhibit enough to warrant an actual diagnosis of that. So I don't have it, right? But it's that thing of, like, a lot of people with ADHD who only have ADHD get misdiagnosed with autism as well. A lot of people with autism might get misdiagnosed with ADHD because there is overlap between some of the symptoms and expressions of those particular conditions. Like, that can happen. And there's a hell of a fucking lot of people who have both ADHD and autism. But it is important to understand that they are not the same condition. Right, they are conditions that like have a lot of comorbidities. They occur in many similar ways. They express in many similar ways. They have like a tendency to occur together, but they're not caused by the same things, and they aren't the same condition. But there's a lot of overlap. So like a lot of people, like, certainly depending on the diagnosis process and all that shit, will, like, a psychiatrist will say, like, you have these traits that are sort of associated with autism, you have these traits that are associated with ADHD. We're going to make a judgment call and diagnose you with maybe only autism, maybe only ADHD, because, like, we believe that that's the condition that is more debilitating, that is more in need of treatment for you. And the other one is like a secondary minor thing that, like, that doesn't really meet the diagnostic criteria to be a condition. But a person with autism might have a bunch of traits that overlap with ADHD without actually having ADHD, right? Like, on a diagnostic level. And that's complicated shit, but it's important to understand that they overlap. There's a lot of similarity between them, but they are not the same condition.
Let's just brush that one away for now. There's a couple types of ADHD you can have: hyperactive, inattentive, and combined, which is both hyperactive and inattentive. Yeah. Hyperactive is the type people typically go to when they think of a loud kid who can't sit still. People with this kind normally need to fidget, have low patience, tend to talk a lot, and have trouble staying seated, especially when they're expected to, like in a meeting or school.
Yeah, I have so many. You would not believe the number of coping mechanisms that I have to prevent myself from getting out of any seat that I am sat in. You would not believe how, like, my toes, right? I'm wearing shoes, I'm wiggling my toes. I'm wiggling the shit out of my toes. My toes are going. Like, those piggies are dancing. Like, they're just there. I'm tapping out complicated rhythms with, like, my left and my right big toe, like laying down like a complicated 6/8 fucking syncopated jazz pattern or whatever in my shoes, because I know that I'm not supposed to get up. So something else needs to happen. I'm fidgeting with my hands. I'm like scratching my knee under the table. I have a pen in my hand, and I'm just like fucking manipulating that thing. Because I was taught that it's very rude to get up in, like, and I've heard this from people multiple times, like, when like I'm in a social situation, they're like, why are you standing up? Like, why are you walking around? Sit down, relax. Like, be normal with the rest of us. Like, I'm literally making people uncomfortable, because when I get animated, when I get excited, I need to stand up. I need to walk around. I need to gesticulate with my hands. I need to do this, right? And that just doesn't, like, it just doesn't work with, like, a chill social setting where people are just, like, hanging out, that, like, everyone else is sitting down and just chatting or, like, leaning back and relaxing, and I'm up there, like, walking around, doing stuff, emoting, doing a little dance. I'm like, I faced a bunch of, like, childhood social rejection because of my inability to sit still. So I developed every coping mechanism, all of them. Every coping mechanism that keeps my ass planted in my seat, I have them. Like, just infinite reservoir of coping mechanisms for that one thing.
Inattentive is the one where someone experiences
Ooh, that was nice.
Attentive is the
That's a nice little squash and stretch. Oop. And oh, that's nice.
one experiences difficulty in focus, memory, organization, has a low attention span. That's the one I have. It's self-explanatory, but if you have the combined type of ADHD, then you got it all. ADHD jackpot right there, my friend.
Yeah, most of mine is also attention deficit, not so much I have hyperactivity parts. But again, according to my psychiatrist, the majority of my symptoms are attention deficit.
I brought up during the appointments that I used to be such a good kid in school with seemingly zero ADHD symptoms, and how that part has always confused me. And he had a couple hypotheses about it. One, since my mom has always been a big source of my
the fucking
organization.
Oh, that's clever. Oh, that's really good. Oh, that's really good. I like using Toriel for that. Good one. Oh, storyboard artists. My compliments to the chef.
Hypotheses about it. One, since my mom has always been a big source of my organizational influence, I was able to depend and lean on her for the majority of my school life for it. I felt like I was naturally
Oh, that's good. That's a really, again, it's that thing about like choosing your visuals, choosing like the risk of choosing a visual like that, like of having the soundtrack and like choosing the Undertale visuals. Like anyone who hasn't played Undertale are not gonna understand the reference, right? Like they don't know about Toriel. They don't know about the tutorial that's literally tutorial hand holding you through the puzzles kind of thing. But the clever thing is they don't need to. They don't need to understand the reference because the visual language of the thing that's happening is so clear.
Has always been a big source of my organizational influence. I was able to depend and lean on her for the majority of my school life for it. I felt like I was naturally capable of staying on top of things because she was right behind me the whole time, reminding me and guiding me through stuff. So when I moved out, everything started crumbling, which lines up pretty perfectly to when I did start struggling. Another explanation he gave was the fact that ADHD affects women differently than men, which is also less researched. Love to hear that one. Not only do women tend to be able to mask their symptoms better than guys, so it goes much more unnoticed, but they also experience ADHD differently. And research says there's a chance it can just start affecting women later in life. I'm no ADHD scientist.
It's complicated. I'm also no ADHD scientist. I should say I've been speaking very authoritatively on it over the course of this video. Please don't take your psychological health advice from me or from Jaden Animations. Like, we are not, you need to talk to a psychiatrist. But yeah, like the masking especially is I think a big deal because like, it's that thing about diagnostic criteria, right? Like the diagnostic criteria are based on what can a psychiatrist reasonably be expected to be able to observe in a patient, right? And that can be very socially dependent because like people mask and people deal with their symptoms differently depending on who they are, and also between men and women in terms of like your hormone balance in your body. Like what your hormones are doing is going to have a big effect on your behavior also. Like, and testosterone like can lead, like it is associated with, for example, increased aggression. It's associated with like certain types of like different hormones are associated with different kinds of emotionalities, right? That can change the way that your ADHD expresses itself and can change how you express your ADHD in a way that the world around you can see, right? And as Jaden says, it's under-researched. Like this, I have a friend who's a clinical psychiatrist, and like one of the things that she studied in university was specifically autism and ADHD diagnoses within the Danish health system, which is where I live. And like what she found is like there's first of all an absolutely astonishing degree of underdiagnosis because the diagnostic criteria were just too rigid and too strict, and so they missed a hell of a lot of people who developed good masking skills, right? People who were good at coping with or dealing with the symptoms of their condition would fly under the radar because they didn't exhibit all of the obvious symptoms that psychiatrists are told to look for under the rules, right? but they still had the condition, they still struggled with it, and they were not receiving the help that they needed. It's just that they were better able to mask or hide those symptoms from anyone who might be looking for them. And so, like, one of the things that she was on a research project that was about, like, designed to help like change those diagnostic criteria to make them. I don't know how that turned out at the end. It was just some recommendations that they were making to the government to change the diagnostic criteria to be a little bit more lenient, a little bit more flexible, and allow the psychiatrist more agency in choosing how to interpret the symptoms that they're observing. Because there was an astonishing degree of underdiagnosis of both ADHD and autism, especially in women. Like, women was like by far the most underdiagnosed class of person. Like, because of all kinds of complicated gender things, right?
Though that's just what I've been told by specialists. I don't know, I've just got the dang thing. Either way, those two explanations make a lot of sense to me and have since put my weird ADHD imposter syndrome to rest. I didn't really think that getting a diagnosis would change much about how I go about my life, but since getting my ADHD certificate and lollipop, it's completely revolutionized how I think and go about getting things done. It's still hard to get my ass into gear when I need to do one normal thing that's not difficult, but I'm much less hard on myself and will strike almost like these kinds of mental deals to loophole myself into getting things done. Like, for example, if I...
That's exactly the same thing. I thought, okay, if I have this ADHD, it's like, what's it gonna change? It's not gonna change. Maybe I can get some medication, but it's not gonna change anything, really. It's just, I just have a name for the thing that I've been experiencing. It's just a label. It doesn't mean anything. No, turns out it means a lot. Turns out it means everything. Oh, like just knowing, like I said, right? This thing of like, oh, I just need to pull myself together. I just need to try harder. Like that mantra that I had carved into the very living rock of my brain for decades. And now I have the ADHD diagnosis, and I know, no, you can't try harder. Like, you are trying as hard as you physically are capable of. There is no trying harder. There is only find a way to accommodate your ADHD. That's been the big thing, is like just knowing that you have a disability that you need to accommodate in your life. That like, hey, this extremely stressful task that you keep procrastinating on and beating yourself up over procrastinating on, maybe if you can't do that right now, if you find that whatever's going on with you, you cannot do that thing right now, find something else to do, right? Can't do the dishes right now. The dishes, just for whatever reason, blocked. My brain doesn't want to do it. Doesn't want to do the dishes. Just simply doesn't want to deal with them. Okay, cool. What can you do instead? Right? Can you take out the trash, maybe? Usually, yes, I can. And maybe I can put some clothes away or fold some laundry, or like I can do some other thing. And I have found that instead of focusing on like, if I can do this one thing, I need to do this one thing. If instead of that I go, okay, fuck, I'll do everything else then. I will procrastinate from the one thing by doing everything else, right? By getting all of the other tasks done. And then all of a sudden, once I've gotten all of those other tasks done, the apartment looks a little bit nicer. Like a whole bunch of stuff has been taken off my plate that I needed to deal with later. And then it's all of a sudden a lot more bearable to go do the one thing when I don't fixate on getting that one fucking thing and like beating myself up over it. And that comes from just knowing, no, you have ADHD. So when your brain decides that it doesn't have the dopamine to do something, it's because it doesn't have the dopamine, and you can't fucking magic dopamine out of thin air to get yourself to do it. So work around it. Another thing is, I've started to acquire more boxes, right? Just boxes to have around places, so that if I have a thing in my hand that I need to put this down somewhere for a second. I need to, like, whatever. It's like a bundle of clothes, a thing I have in my hand. Then I put them in the boxes. I put them in the boxes so that when time comes that I'm like, where the fuck did I put that thing? There is a finite number of places that it could possibly be. There's only so many boxes in the home for me to put things down, so I don't have to search every surface in my entire fucking apartment. If I had the thing and I put it down, it's in one of the boxes, right? And that narrows down like the search parameters for trying to figure out where I put the thing immensely. And it's those are messy boxes. Those are boxes just full of random crap and garbage, right? Like stuff that I have this in my hand. I need to put it down for a second to do something else. Oops, I've forgotten about it. But it means that there's only so many places I need to search for it, which means I don't need to freak out about it so much. When my keys are suddenly gone, they are in one of the boxes, probably. And it's something I'm working on implementing more in my home. of like having these things. I want to redo how I like organize my laundry as well, to be more friendly to the ADHD brain, so that I stop using the floor as a shelf by providing myself other places where I can just dump shit, right? Where it can go and not be a mess, and be like, just knowing that you have to accommodate yourself is unspeakably powerful. It really, really is.
I really don't want to edit a video, I'll say to myself, okay, I know it's going to be super hard for me to immediately start that task, so I'll get myself into the mindset of getting things done by doing a simple other task I don't find difficult, like cleaning my room. That way I'll feel productive and can transition that into tackling the original task much easier. It doesn't always work, but it's the mindset change and overall understanding that sometimes I'm gonna have to go about things in different ways. That's helped me a lot. Also, after being diagnosed with ADHD, I didn't have much desire to get medicated. I figured just knowing I have it would be enough to get things into gear, and I didn't really need medication that badly. But the content creator in me also thought, well, if I'm gonna write a script about having ADHD, it would be nice to be able to talk about what it's like to be medicated, even just for a day. So I got prescribed good old classic instant release Adderall. Instant release means I don't have to take it every day. I can just take it when I need to get stuff done. It affects me immediately and then wears off after a few hours. There's also extended release, which is the kind you take every day and gives you a constant, steady stream of medication. It wasn't until I had the Adderall in my hands when I realized the idea of taking it for the first time made me nervous. Like, what is this thing gonna do to me? I have so many friends with ADHD, honestly a higher ratio than friends without it.
That's again the neurotypical thing, is like we magnetize to one another.
How it goes in content creation. All of these MFs have it. They were all telling me that it's awesome, how you'll take it and immediately feel like a god, and you can do anything and it's incredible. And yeah, that sounds great, but also like, what the hell? What do you mean I take this little pill and suddenly all of my problems seemingly disappear and I gain superpowers? Well, that's scary. That sounds like the thing every adult in a 20-mile radius warned us about when we were kids. Am I gonna feel like a completely different person? I don't know if I'm ready to experience immortality. I put off taking Adderall for so long because I was irrationally scared of the
same. I had a lot of anxiety about the medication. I also because I had a lot of friends who had told me that it would help me, I wasn't quite as scared of it, but I was worried. Like I was like shit, it's like who am I if I don't have my feral gremlin brain? Like, who am I if this thing shuts up for a second? What happens to me? Like, where do I go? Am I still the same person? Like, I was having a Ship of Theseus thing.
Tiny blue pill, but coincidentally, I really needed to get a script done. If I take too long to write a video script, then the team runs out of work to do, and then I have a bunch of people sitting around and waiting for me to give them more work so they can pay their bills and survive and stuff. But for the freaking life of me, I just could not get myself to sit down and write that script. My body and soul found it mentally easier to backflip off a bridge than write words on the computer. After literally 2 months of my brain going, ooh, you better write that script. I won't let you enjoy a single moment of your life if you aren't writing that script.
God, that's the other fucking thing, is like when you have the task that is blocked, right? Like when you have the thing you need to do, but it is blocked. Your brain has decided, for whatever fucking reason, has just decided this one is not gonna happen. You can't do it. Fuck you. You can't do it. When you have that one thing that's sitting in your head, that's the thing about mindset change, right? Like knowing that I have ADHD means I can sort of forgive myself for not being able to do it. But you have that thing of like, I need to get that one thing done though. Like, and it infects everything. Like the shame of that, the misery of having the unfinished thing at the back of your head, sort of screaming at you. It infects everything. It makes it impossible for you to enjoy doing anything. I've had some truly miserable times where, because I had that, like those tasks that I need to do but I can't do, where I just lost my ability to enjoy anything. I could not enjoy video games. I could not enjoy books. I could not enjoy anything that I would normally enjoy, because all of the time when I was trying to distract myself or turn my brain off for just a second with a fucking video game or whatever, I'd have that, you need to do the thing. Why aren't you doing the thing? Right? The frustration, the anger, the guilt, poisoning it for me. And that can be really devastating because it feels as though like you lose the ability to even be happy doing the things you love. And that can burn you out really, really, really badly also. Like that can be a really huge source of stress and burnout.
I don't wanna. Get up, go to the bridge. After that constant loop, I finally swallowed my fears and took my first Adderall. I had talked to James a lot about what Adderall is like since he's been on it for a few years now. And after I took one, I was messaging him like, I did it.
So I'm not on Adderall. I'm on Ritalin. I don't know if it's the same active compound or whatever it is, but taking it for the first time and feeling the effects is like, it's a trip. It's a thing. Like it's because you don't get high. Like that's the thing is like it technically some ADHD medications are meth, right? Like they are methamphetamines technically in their chemical composition. But if you have ADHD and you take them, first of all, because the dosage is so low, you don't get high. But also, your brain just doesn't react to it the same way that other people. Like that's the thing with caffeine. A lot of ADHD people have huge caffeine dependencies because caffeine can stimulate your brain in a way that sort of mimics a little bit and like sort of gives you that same feeling. Like I can drink a whole ass can of fucking Monster and I just feel chill. I just like that all of that caffeine hits my system and I just kind of go, I feel relaxed. Like, because to me, even though I have a huge caffeine buzz, right? Like that should make me jittery as fuck because my brain is so understimulated by default. When I drink a whole fuck ton of caffeine, for me, getting that extra stimulation is actually like, it kind of lets me relax a little bit and get like a sort of, whew, I can take a nap now. I get tired from drinking caffeine, or I used to. I don't anymore since I have the medication now, but I used to get tired from drinking caffeine. Because it would stimulate my brain just enough that I could relax for 5 fucking seconds. And I'd be like, oh my God, whoo. And like the moment my body sort of lets go of all that stress and all that ADHD, like motor revving constantly inside of you, I just get tired. My body just kind of goes, oh my God, we need a nap. We need a nap right now.
I ate an Adderall. How long does it normally take to start? How do I know? What do I do? And he was helping me a lot and giving me tips. Then, like 20 minutes later,
yeah,
I felt it.
Yep. It's quiet. That's the fucking thing is like you take it and you sit down, it's like, it's quiet, right? And I've noticed like I can be in a loud place. I can be on a bus that's going through traffic, like next station, blah, blah. Like, and once the medication kicks in, it's like, oh, it's quiet. Even though this like the situation may be loud and chaotic, it's just quiet now. It's not as loud anymore. Quiet places feel quieter. Loud places feel quieter. Everything feels quiet. Like there is peace in the world somewhere, and now you have access to it, and it's a fucking trip and a half. I didn't know you could feel that way. And my immediate thought upon taking my medication is like, you people get to feel like that for free? You can just you motherfucking neurotypical ass motherfucking assholes, you for free? You can feel that way for free? The whole time? The whole time other people have, when people say clear your mind of all thoughts, right? When you meditate and you clear your mind of all thought. And I always thought that was just a turn of phrase. That was just an expression, right? Oh yeah, you clear your mind of thought, which means you don't think of 5 million things at once. You just think of like 500,000 things at once, right? Right? That's what clearing your mind of all thought means, right? That's what having your brain go quiet means, right? That you just don't feel as stressed in the moment, right? It's not like you literally stop thinking, because that's not a thing that's possible, right? You can't stop thinking. You can't not have thoughts in your head all the time, going constantly. You can't have that. That's not a real thing that people experience. That's a turn of phrase. That's a poetic way to say, do meditation and chill out for a second. No, it turns out you can actually sit down and not have thoughts in your head for a bit and just not think of anything and not have like thought streams that are constantly like swapping between each other and jumping from idea to idea and thought to thought. Oh, okay. Okay. For free? You motherfuckers do that for free? I have to pay for a pill? Oh, it's a head trip.
Stop thoughts going on in my brain went silent. I could think clearly, and in like a line. My mind wasn't racing a mile a minute. I was able to sit behind my laptop and write. It was incredible. I was messaging all my friends about it the entire time. I can write my script and not get distracted. I don't have to take a mental break every 10 minutes. I can remember things. Kelsey sent me a message and I thought, I'll check that in a bit. And I remembered to check it in a bit. And respond. When I opened a new tab to look something up, I didn't go down a random unrelated rabbit hole. I picked up my phone to check something and didn't impulsively scroll Twitter for an hour. I can write words so easily. How am I doing this? What do you mean I can feel like this whenever I want if I just eat the tiny blue pill? I refuse to believe regular people can function like this on a day-to-day basis. No way. It wouldn't be fair. You guys don't have loud, non-stop voices in your heads preventing you from doing normal things? Come on, just admit it. You can't pick something up and immediately keep remembering what you were supposed to be doing with it. You always forget and feel crazy. Come on. Come on. I was so suspicious that on Adderall, either nothing would happen and I just wouldn't feel anything, or I would feel like I'm a totally different person experiencing some higher-than-life manic episode. But no, I just felt like myself, but with my shit together. And that's the part I couldn't believe. After 2 months of war, I finally was able to plant myself down and write my damn script. You want to know what script I wrote while experiencing Adderall for the first time? This one. I was struggling to write a script about ADHD, and the thing that finally pulled it out of me was Adderall. You gotta admit that's funny. Yeah, it was great.
It is.
I didn't think my head was loud before, or I was that impulsive, or had that hard of a time focusing. But now that I've been able to peacefully sit in one spot for hours and not need to take a break or check social media or get distracted by some stupid tangent I don't actually care about, this changes things. I still can't believe what I was able to accomplish. Writing a script in 3 hours. Compared to my typical 12 hours. AKA one mediocre thing with no struggle at all. And you want to know what I did right after I wrote this script? I immediately got up and cleaned the birds' room. Without rotting in bed for 3 hours beforehand. I just went from one task to another. For
free! People can do that for free! Fuck you! What do you mean? That's not... What do you mean you can do that for free? What do you mean? That's not right.
Think about it. All you neurotypical people must be thinking I'm literally pathetic and useless, but I know my ADHD brethren are out of their chairs right now.
Yes, I am.
I'm not standing before you all to give you scientific data and information on ADHD or diagnose you or even promote prescribed drugs. I'm just here to talk about a big and recent experience in my life, how much of an impact and effect it's had on me, and how awesome feeling normal is. Seriously, being able to take a deep breath in mental silence is incredible. Cherish that feeling if you don't have a neurodevelopmental disorder. It took me 20...
You neurotypicals don't know how good you have it. You don't know. Having the world be quiet, you just get to have that? That just comes pre-installed by default on your hard drives? Oh, okay. You motherfuckers better appreciate it. Cause like, I have to take pills to get there. It costs money. For free, you people. Jesus. Oh. I genuinely, I'm playing it up. I'm playing a character. I'm playing it up. I'm hamming it up, right? I'm like, oh, like yelling and shouting and being animated. I do genuinely have a lot of anger. Also, not at anyone, not in the sense of like, oh, I hate neurotypical people, or like, why did my parents, teachers not diagnose me? Because like, I put so much fucking effort into hiding my ADHD from everyone, including myself. No wonder I didn't get diagnosed, but I still have a lot of anger. I'm still so pissed off. I genuinely am so angry that I had to go through so much of my life not understanding that there was anything wrong, and not having access to the thing that could so easily have helped me either. Like, I am angry about that. Like, in a sort of cosmic, universal injustice kind of way, I am really pissed off about that. It upsets me. It's, like... And I tried to channel that towards, okay, well then, like part of my politics, like part of what I vote for, right? Like part of where I put my what little power I have in the world should be towards, like, trying to make it easier for other people to not have to go through the same thing that I did, right? But I am pissed. Like, I am very, very angry that I had to go through all of that shit when it wasn't even complicated to help me. A tiny dose of like a fucking brain stimulant, and I just can't help but think, like, what could I have accomplished by? Could I have written that novel I always wanted to write? Like, what could I have done? How could I have been as a person if I had that help just a little bit earlier, right? Not to say that I'm dissatisfied with where I am. I'm very happy. I'm privileged. I'm lucky to be where I am. Just that I can't help but wonder. I managed to get to where I am now here without help, without the fucking medication. The vast majority of my life without the damn medication, without the help, right? That's pretty fucking impressive, all things considered. And I'm proud of that. But I just imagine how high I could have flown if I'd had the help. Like, so many things I have dreamed of wanting to do or trying to pursue that I just never get myself to do. Would I have been able to do that if I'd had the help earlier, right? Like those what-if questions haunt me, and it makes me angry and upset. Not at anyone, not even at myself, really. Just at the universe in general. And that anger is, like, sometimes hard to deal with. Like, it would be very easy for me to become resentful of other people instead of just being resentful of fate. I think that could turn toxic if I'm not careful. But yeah, no, like, God, yeah, no, Jaden, you weren't wrong in the comment that you left. Thank you for... you're not wrong. God damn it, holy shit. Fuck me. Yeah, I feel it. I feel you, girl. Holy shit.
6 years to realize my woes were not actually woes, but symptoms of brain chemical deficiency. I'm writing this video, all things considered, pretty recently after being diagnosed, and I'm still trying to learn how to rebuild my life in a way that lets me optimize my productivity and get things done at a normal level. But so far, I've come so much further than I thought I could simply by knowing what's going on up there in the old noodle. And Adderall. If you're on the fence about being diagnosed with something, I get it. It's
ooh, nice gestures again. Again, this thing we talked about, like flatness.
And Adderall. If you're on the fence,
like that little, because again, and again, that's also part of the storytelling, right? Like here, Jaiden is addressing the viewer directly. She's talking to you, so direct foreshortening into the screen.
It's about being diagnosed with something. I get it.
Grabbing the camera, or like it sort of, if this is your viewpoint, she's grabbing your shoulders, as it were.
It's scary. It's scary to think you might have.
That's a good way to sort of, like, we're breaking the fourth wall here a little bit. Not there isn't that much of a fourth wall in Jaiden videos because they're story times, but like that reaching forward, that was a really good little gesture.
It, and it's also scary to think you might not have it. It's an odd place to be. But for me, having a concrete answer from a professional is what got me to finally stop feeling stuck in place and actually start moving forward again. It's been great. I'm excited to keep learning more things about how my mind works and find new ways to improve my day-to-day life. Cheers to getting normal shit done. In case you missed it, I have new merch. For a limited time, you can get yourself...
Yep. The pleasure of being able to do laundry when you want to do it and not when the fucking stars align. Just, oh, I need to do laundry. Okay, I'm going to go do the laundry. Just being able to do that? You could just do for free. You motherfuckers get to do that for free. Ooh. God, yes, no, yeah, nope, yep. Relatable, intensely relatable, Jaden, intensely. Holy shit, fuck me. Oh God. That got me more riled up than I thought it would. Holy fuck. As ever, good job, like, on this, like, to the animators and the team behind Jaiden Animations, because again, her scripts are good, right? Like, as evidenced by me fucking hooting and hollering over here. But like the imagination and the imaginativeness with which they like and the cleverness with which they approach visualizing
Since my mom has always been
visualizing the points that she's making and like thematically supporting what's being said in the script is like it's easy to underestimate that, because like that's the tragedy of animation, right? Is that when it's good, it's invisible. When animation work is done well, when it's done right, you don't really notice it. It doesn't come off as work. It doesn't come off as like a difficult thing to achieve. It comes off as completely effortless and natural, right? And that's the thing about Jaiden videos. Like, I don't remember watching a Jaiden video where I'm like, oh, that visual felt forced. Like, that visual, it's like, that's a little bit unclear, or that's a little bit like, I don't really know what to do that. Like maybe, like, I'm sure there are some, like, nobody bats perfect 10 out of 10 every time, but like, I don't remember ever sitting there feeling like, that's a little bit vague, or, ooh, you've held on that shot for way too long and it's not visually interesting anymore. Like, the pacing, the editing also in these videos is very good, and that comes down to just, like, craft. Like, just, like, the animators being damn good at doing what animators do, which is telling stories, with visual accompaniment. Like, and that Jaiden's team are really fucking damn good at it. Like, the storyboarders and, like, they do a really good job of, like, supporting what she's saying in the voiceover without, like, also without overshadowing it. Like, that's the other thing, is really, really engaging visuals can be distracting from the point that's being spoken in the voiceover, right? Like, visuals that have way too fucking much going on, or which are just too compelling, or too action-packed, or too much in motion, they can make it hard to listen to what's being said. So that's another difficult balance to walk, right? Like, of managing to have visuals that are engaging, that are interesting, that are supportive of what's being said, but which don't overshadow it, which don't distract from it, which don't make it harder to listen to the voiceover that's being delivered. That's also a difficult thing to do. So, like, take, for example, this science shot, just as an example.
Which is also less researched. Love to hear that one. Not only do women tend to be able to mask their symptoms better than guys, so it goes much more unnoticed.
Right? So, hang on, let's try and watch that without sound, actually, and notice how much that isn't happening in that particular shot with the scientist, right? Right? It's a very quiet shot. There's a lot going on. We have the screen, we have the other kid, we have the ADHD detective being swung back and forth, we have the character putting on the mask, we have, like, all this complicated gear and shit in the background. But for the most part, the shot is quiet, right? Like, visually speaking, it's quiet. There's not that much happening in it. There's the one character, like, just making the movements, and then for the rest of it, it gets to be static, so that, like, you have a compelling visual that supports what's being said, but doesn't overpower it, right? Like, as compared to, imagine if we had, like, 3 shots, like, cut from like, a character sitting in a pod, and they're doing an analysis on it, cut into another thing. Like, that might have been too much. That might have been distracting. So, like, that simple visualization of what's being said, like, that's elaborate, but which isn't visually noisy, is, like, that's just a good directorial choice. At least I think so. Anyway. Fucking ADHD. You, for free, you people get to feel that way for